Okay, today on the show, we have Skye Michiels from Compass. Now, this is actually, I'm going to start that one over. My apologies, everybody. If anyone's watching us, sorry about that. Today on the show, we have Skye Michiels from Compass. And let me tell you more about Skye. Now, Skye Michiels is here to connect, empower, and cultivate kindness. He's a dad, an entrepreneur. He's an award-winning real estate professional and a national motivational speaker. Now, currently, he is serving as the national head of agent development at Compass. And Skye is currently creating a national agent training curriculum based on the principle that real estate is more about creating connection and caring for people than it is about selling houses. Could not agree more, by the way. Skye is also the founder and host of the popular motivation and accountability group, the 6 a.m.ers, which brings together thousands of agents across the country in the early hours every week to learn frameworks for developing a healthy mindset, reaching their goals, and achieving their own happiness. I'm going to give you guys 2 websites that I want you to go check out about Skye. First is his personal website, which is skyemichiels.com. Michiels is spelled a little differently, so there's a link to that in our show notes, but it is Michiels.com. So Skye with an E, Michiels. Anyway, just click on the link in the show notes. But also, I want you to check out his 6 a.m.ers accountability group and podcast. You can find that anywhere podcasts are served. But go to his website, the 6 a.m.ers, and it's the number 6 a.m.ers.com. Google it, you'll find it. I'll also have a link to that in the show notes. Skye, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be on.
I wanted to very quickly, before we get into your story, I'm sort of going to take over for just a moment,
Awesome.
Which is like super rude and not great, not great etiquette for a host. But I saw something that really stopped me in my tracks and forced me, but not forced me, encouraged me and immediately captivated me to learn more about you. So we do obviously prep for the show, although today I didn't do my prep that early. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I have to learn about Skye. And I went to his website, which is skyemichiels.com, and he does something that I've yet to see any other person in the real estate industry do. And I'm sure other people have done this, but this is the first time I've seen it in 5 years of looking at other agent websites for people that are on our show after 400 some episodes. This is super cool. If you go to his website and you go to his About Us page, he has got something called Big Moments. And what he's basically showing you here is different major events in his life that are important to him or significant to his development or about his personal life. And boy, I love this. And I just wanted to say, I literally got to learn all about your life, not necessarily by reading a bio, which, you know, I get lost after a while when I read somebody's bio, especially if it's really long. But I loved this because I could see pictures of each event in your life. And then if I hover over, I can read more about it. And I was like, wow, I really feel like I know this guy. And I thought, what a great idea for other realtors to do this. So please, everyone, go to his website, skyemichiels.com, go to his About Us page and just check out how he really gets intimate and vulnerable, and says, here's what's been most important to me in my life. I think it is super cool. So I just wanted to give you some kudos before you started talking.
That. Yeah. Well, I think it ties back into the philosophy that I have around real estate too, that real estate is about people. And you know, every realtor that you've seen or that you go to their About page, it's words and words and words. The reality is, like, no client looking at me, it wants to read all of that, right? But when they see a visual and they see a picture of, like, divorced, you know, what I'm doing right there is, I'm explaining who I am as a person. In addition, I'm also creating a potential connection with a person, like, oh wow, like, where if they had read paragraph and paragraph and paragraph, you know, eventually maybe they get to it, but the visual of that, and you know, the visual of my children or the visual of me rowing in college or whatever it might be, you connect a lot easier. Our brains are wired to connect visually much quicker than we are to connect when we read something. So that was sort of the mindset around it, was I really wanted to, in a very, very quick situation, illustrate who I am as a person, mainly because I want to connect with you as a person as well.
Yeah, it almost felt like it was almost like a mini Instagram, most important moments of your life in a weird way. It's like, I don't have to infinitely scroll through, a million of your Instagram posts. I can literally just see the top 12 things that have happened that are significant. And you really do talk about everything on there, which I think is courageous, and a great example of leadership, the ability to, say, hey, not everything in my life's been easy and perfect. And here are some of the challenges, and here's how I overcame them. And I'm really impressed by that. And it encourages me to want to be more forthright, with my own story as well. And by the way, I'm a divorced guy too. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, I feel I felt a little connected to you. I don't have children, you do. So I wasn't able to connect in that way, but I was like, oh, I'm a divorced guy. That's, it's not really something we we go around bragging about in a way, or like announcing, but of course half the people in this country are. And so even things like that I thought was really, really cool.
And I really think it goes back into owning your story, right? The best realtors are authentic. And authenticity is the most powerful thing we have in real estate. It's to be your authentic self. And when you own your story, you're showing up as your authentic self. And very similarly, like when someone is looking at you online, you don't know what they're going to connect with. I didn't know if you were divorced, but now we have a common connection. And imagine if I was showing up to a listing appointment at your house. You already feel like you know me a little bit, and we have a connection. And maybe it was the college rowing, or maybe it was the children, or maybe it was we don't know. But now I'm putting my story out there. I'm saying, this is who I am as a person. And now it allows you to connect in your terms rather than me trying to force my terms on you. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And also this idea of vulnerability is really the gateway to connection. And you are vulnerable on this. And I like that, because so many people are desperate for connection, but it's scary to get vulnerable. It's scary to put your story out there, because of course, people can judge you for it, or people can have a reaction that isn't what you want. But you were saying, it's my story. This is what it is. But people love that. I love it. I love anyway. So we'll move on from that, because I could talk about that all day. But I think that is such a great example of who you are. Is the willingness to put something like that out there, I think is a really great indicator of your character and also where you're at in life. But let's start all the way at the beginning of your story, because I really want to hear about how you got to where you are now. So how'd you get started in real estate?
So I was a teacher. So I graduated from Syracuse University. I knew from a very early age I wanted to be a teacher. Like, I loved it, and I was inspired by some of my teachers, like most teachers are. And I graduated in 2000 with my master's degree, and I became a high school history teacher. And unfortunately, I realized very quickly I was poor. So as a teacher, so I needed a side business. And most teachers have a little side thing. They paint, they're movers, or they coach, or whatever it might be. And I had a conversation with a teacher who was just about to retire. And he said, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would get my real estate license and sell real estate part-time and then teach full-time. You get the best of both worlds. So I was like, sure. Huh. So I went online, Googled real estate schools, found the closest one. And I literally got my license in, it was one of those like all weekend classes, right? So I got it 4 weekends, got my license, and I was a realtor. And I started selling, and I always intended it in the beginning to be a part-time thing. Like, I thought it was just going to be something I sell 4 or 5 homes a year, make a little extra money and be a teacher the rest of my life. And I'm a former college athlete, so I'm a little competitive. So I got into it, and I actually loved it, because I think it reminded me of sports. Right? Like, if you work hard, you actually get a return here. Right.
Right.
And there's a piece of my soul, so to speak, that missed that competition. Right. Every day of your life as a college athlete, you're competing, and then you leave it and you're like, okay, that's over. And now I was back in a competition mode. And I loved it. I gravitated into it. I was successful. And I literally did both for 3 years as a part-time agent, because of the fact that I grew up, you grow up craving stability. Like, I did 5 years, Syracuse University, in my opinion, the best school out there, But at the end of the day, like, you you go to school for 5 years to become a teacher and you achieve it, and I'm going to leave it to go sell houses at 100% commission.
And it was
Well,
probably difficult in a sense too, because I imagine with teaching, sometimes there's a calling, like it's like I feel drawn to do this. You obviously could have chosen, any career. Syracuse is a great university, and so you could have chosen any path. And did you feel called to teach? Was that like part of?
Totally. And the last year I stayed, the last year I literally stayed because of the fact I didn't want to leave the senior class that I was teaching, because I've been with them all 4 years, and
it's a relationship.
It's a relationship, and
you care about those kids. Sure.
Exactly. And then on the surface, when you look at real estate on the surface, it actually, it feels very, especially nowadays with like all the housewives and the HGTV stuff, right? It feels very like, what I discovered though within real estate is all the skills I applied as a teacher, I can apply in real estate. And that's what made me successful, between caring about someone, learning about who they are, making sure I could explain everything properly, making sure they really, really understood the process, right? All the skills of a teacher applied so closely to me being a realtor, as long as I then applied sort of that confidence and the sort of the drive you have as an athlete as well. When those came together, it really made me who I was. So I did both for 3 years, and then finally 2005 went full-time real estate. And it was made the decision that, that this was going to be my career.
And then now you're in you're a corporate guy now. Now you're part of the biggest real estate company out there right now.
Yeah.
So you are the national head of agent development at Compass, and everybody knows Compass, of course. I would hope by now everyone knows Compass. And they just are crushing it everywhere. And obviously Robert Refkin's a really impressive guy, of course. And you guys are always in the news, and always a lot going on with Compass. How did you get to Compass? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. So over the course of my career, I was an individual agent in 2005, and then over in 2012, I created my real estate team, and it was called Real Estate with Heart. All about caring and caring about people, et cetera. That team, I grew that team into one of the top teams in the Philadelphia market. At the time, I was with Keller Williams, which I love. Keller Williams. It's such a great company, some great trainings and awesome culture, et cetera. But at the time, I was also craving a little something more, shall we say. And Compass at that time in 2018 was just starting to launch in the Philadelphia market. So I remember taking my first recruiting appointment. I was taking it because I was like, I'm going to learn about this company so I can recruit against them. And the minute when I walked in,
you're like, wait a minute, they've got everything. I don't want to compete with those guys.
It was that situation. I walked into the appointment, and I met a gentleman named Rob Lehman. And at the end of the day, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, why did I take this appointment? Because I literally fell in love with the company, the philosophy, the branding, the marketing. There were so many aspects that I wanted to create, but there was just so many. It's so challenging in most real estate companies to create it, because of the fact that, the factors present really hold you back. And Compass sort of overcame this really because of the fact that they invested so many millions of dollars in supporting agents first. And that was like this philosophy that I had that I really wanted to sort of pursue. So at the time, in 2018, I came over to Compass. I took over as the managing director for the city of Philadelphia. And my team came over as well. My sister ran my team. And and we launched in June of 2018, and I came over in August of 2018, and it was an awesome ride. And then over the years, the teacher in me started to come out, and really, this was accentuated in the pandemic. So I'd been doing a little bit of national teaching at our retreats and things along those lines, and the pandemic hits, right? So March of 2020, hard to remember it, but everything shut down, and we're sitting there like, what do we do? And immediately myself and a group of probably about 13 or 14 other people were formed, and we launched a thing called Coaching at Compass, which was all virtual training. So every single day, all we did was all this virtual training. The other thing was I was drinking a lot, eating a lot, watching Netflix a lot. We would have our 4 o'clock virtual happy hour. And then, you're like, all right, 6 o'clock, like, what do I do now? Might as well just watch TV. There's nothing to do. And this was in March. So the end of April, I launched a group called the 6Amers, which was sort of a morning and accountability group just within my market, just within the Philadelphia market. So between the coaching at Compass and the 6Amers, I started to work a little more nationally, but I was still managing full time as well. And then at the beginning of this year, I was promoted to the head of agent development here at Compass, to make a long story short.
No, it's really impressive. You've really come full circle. You're teaching again, and also, you're obviously super engaged in the real estate industry and market. So I want to get some advice, because our audience are all realtors. I assume. I don't know who else would want to listen to our show, but we love our audience, of course. But we also are here to help educate them and help get them ready. And for next year, right? We have a shifting market that's already shifted, and we just had a Fed rate increase, a couple of days ago. So we're certainly. Agents are, they're stressed, they're worried. And I'm super excited to learn, what you're telling agents on what to do through the end of the year, all the way into 2023. But before we do, let's get to your podcast, because I always wait till the very end to sort of say, oh, and by the way, he's got this. And then, not as many people make it to the end. So I want to make sure we get that out there right now. So tell us about the 6Amers.
Yeah, so the 6Amers, once again, it was formed in April 2020. And the mindset, it actually was originally, like a couple of years prior, I'd gotten divorced. And one of my really good friends, a guy named Jake Dreyfus, at Keller Williams, I was struggling. I was in a bad place. Right?
Sure.
You sort of can see this on the website.
I've been there. I know.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's even in the best of scenarios, it's bad. Yes.
And I have a beautiful divorce, by the way. I have a great relationship with my ex. My kids we have great, beautiful 50-50 custody, et cetera. But going through it rocks you. So Jake he said, hey, I'm going to start texting you early in the morning, 5 a.m. We followed a guy named Jocko Willnick, who's like,
sure. Of course. By the way, for anyone who doesn't know who Jocko Willnick is, he's got a million books. He's a crazy, ex-Navy SEAL or
Navy SEAL.
I guess you're never an ex-Navy SEAL. I shouldn't say that. It's like disrespectful. I didn't mean it to be. He's not. But anyway, he's a Navy SEAL, and this guy is hardcore, and he's all about discipline. And anyway, go right ahead. Sorry.
So Jake and I formed a group called the 5Amers, right? We woke up at 5. A couple of days a week, we'd get on a Zoom call. We actually launched it like nationwide. It was really cool. Actually, the Facebook group still exists today. Jake's one of my best friends today. But, he moved to Colorado. I went to Compass, so it just sort of settled in, I guess we could say. So when the pandemic hit, I sort of just revived it as the 6Amers. It was a pandemic, so you didn't need to get up at 5 a.m. And 6 a.m. is also that hour that really allows it to be accessible to everyone.
Yeah. 5 a.m. is a little tough. Yeah.
It's a little hard. If you're not like a crew guy, a swimmer, like an early morning person, a paper boy, right? 5 a.m. is it's not healthy as well. 6 a.m. was a great time. And to make a long story short, what we do is Tuesdays, and every month you sign up and you commit to doing one goal for the month. You wake up at 6 a.m. And you get on a Zoom call on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And will interview someone motivational on the Zoom call. And then I'll post a question of the day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the workplace, which is our internal Facebook system, that you need to answer. And then we also read one book of the month. And the goal is, let's create a community around sort of waking up early and really taking care of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, as realtors, what do we do all day, every day? What makes us successful is we take care of other people. And that's good during the day because of the fact that's what makes you successful. The challenge we have as realtors is that usually that spills over into the early morning and the late evening because of the fact that we are always on email and text and social media. And we literally wake up from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed. Sometimes we're on our devices. So the goal of the 6Amers is really to say to people that you don't need to be all things to all people at all times early in the morning. Early in the morning is
that's
your
for
time.
You. Yeah.
That's for you. And we coined a term we call healthy selfish. that you need to be selfish in a healthy way early in the morning. You don't get on the phone. And everyone is different, right? For some people, it's working out. For some, it's meditating. For some, it's reading. For some people, it's folding laundry because it makes you feel like you're in control.
Yeah.
But whatever it is that you need to do for yourself, that's selfish, but it's healthy selfish. That's really what we try to preach. And we want people to wake up with a little bit of motivation, a little bit of positivity, a little bit of inspiration early in the morning to carry them throughout the day.
Now, is this open to only Compass agents, or can anyone apply for this?
It's a great question. So it is, right. The live group is only Compass agents, right? Because of the fact we use internal communication systems, et cetera. And over the years, I had hours and hours of interviews that I recorded. And my mom would like, can you send me that interview? Or like, people would say, hey, can you send me the interview? I want to send it to my kids. And it got to the point where I was like, I got to put this out publicly, because there were so many great inspirational moments and interviews. And there's people within Compass, but people outside of Compass as well that we interview. So I was really motivated to put something out there that the world could actually see inside what we do as a group and gain inspiration from it as well. And I'll say it's a lot of realtors, but we have a lot of staff members in there. And the podcast really is not about real estate per se. It's really about you as an individual and a person, and how do you get inspired and really take care of yourself.
So podcasts can be listened to by anyone. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes, called 6 a.m.ers, number 6. And if you want to be part of the actual accountability group, that's limited currently to the Compass agents. So a lot of our listeners are Compass agents. So if you don't know about this is a great time to sign up. But let's talk about right now what's going on, because of course, everyone's focused on what's right in front of them, which is some challenging times, right? They're challenging times in relation to what we had a couple of years ago. And I think that's an obvious thing for people to think back and go, well, that was easy. This is hard. But if we think back, maybe a couple of years ago, even at 3% interest rates, I don't know that it was so easy. I think if you were working with buyers, we all remember it was not easy. If you were working with sellers, you had a great run. But now things have changed, and we're now, rates, of course, are much higher. Obviously, business still needs to continue. People still need to move. But yet I'm part of our local association here. And I'm in work on some committees that deal with programming around helping agents get through this current time. And boy, everybody I know is a little bit stressed. So, as you know, so I'm curious on what you're telling agents, or what you're seeing out there. How are successful agents sort of continuing to stay focused? Are they putting the blinders on and just kind of doing the things they were always doing, or are people pivoting? Just curious to get your thoughts on what you're seeing.
Well, the first thing I'll give everyone is that the solution to anxiety is action. Like if you right now are feeling anxious, anxiety is all about unknown things in the future. And what happens when we feel anxiety is we sort of get frozen in place. Almost picture the deer in the headlights, right? And we don't move. And that is not a good thing right now. So if you're out there and you're hearing this and you feel anxiety, my challenge to you is, what are the actions that you need to take in order to move forward, right? Get out of the headlights, get out of the blind spot, get out of that frozen mode. Because the reality is there are real estate transactions that are to be had. There's millions of transactions that are going to happen. But in this moment, when you feel that frozen mode, that anxiety is going to kick in and it's going to paralyze you. And if you are not in a mode of action every single day, then you are literally going to sort of slide backwards, and it's going to get really, really hard. For successful agents, and what I'm coaching everyone, this is an opportunity. We have a massive opportunity right now as professional agents to capture market share and elevate what we do. And 2 years ago, a year ago, let's be real, if the property was priced right and you had it in the MLS,
that was about all you had to do.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, our role as an agent, I like calling us like advisors and consultants around real estate sales. at the end of the day, we weren't able to fulfill our greatest potential because of the fact that the market was so crazy. It was so fueled with low interest rates and low inventory. It was hyper growth, right? It was not natural. And so now we're moving back to a world where there is an opportunity for us to elevate what we do as realtors and to elevate what we do as an industry, to actually embrace that role as the advisor and the consultant. And I really am coaching agents right now to figure out everything you can do to be in action. And when you think about like the last 2 years, a lot of agents probably didn't work in their CRM. They didn't update their contacts. They didn't reach out. They didn't have those great touch points that made you successful, right? All you did was you did transactions, you showed properties, you listed homes, and you were so busy and so frenetic that you were just running so fast. Well, we have an opportunity now to take a step back, and we're still going to work as hard. We're just going to work in a different manner, because the reality is the millions of transactions that are going to happen in this real estate industry are going to happen with people that have real life situations. But if we are not in a relationship with these people, what are they going to do? They're going to click on a link online, and then they're going to get connected to someone that's paying lots of money to a third-party company. And the reality is we need to be reaching out to people we know in a human manner, in a manner that develops our relationships. So when that advisory role comes up, we are elevated and they reach out to us for help, right? When you think about financial advisors, your financial advisor is constantly in touch with you, hopefully, about your portfolio and what you should be doing. And the reality of real estate transaction, it happens once every 7, 8, 10, 15 years. But
so there's a lot of lead time in between.
And what most agents do is they don't remain in their clients' lives as an advisor around real estate beyond the transaction. And our future,
can I pause you for a second? Because I have a theory about this. Number one, obviously, so we're talking about the time in between sales, which I think is not even maybe, it is more important than when you're actually working with the client, because as you said, this is, I mean, we've all seen the stats, I don't know, it depends on what study you look at, but the certain percentage of people literally forget who their realtor was like 3 years after the transaction. My parents are this way. It took them, they had a home in North Myrtle Beach, and it took years to sell it because it was just kind of weird timing, whatever. Anyway, it took years and many different realtors to finally sell this property. Finally, somebody did it after like 5 years. It was brutal, but they finally did it. And my parents were like, oh, thank God somebody finally got it sold. And my parents are super grateful to this person. I was asking my dad not that long ago, this is a couple years ago, but I said, who was the name of your realtor? Because I thought maybe I had a lead out there. I was just going to say, he goes, I don't remember. And my parents liked this person and they couldn't remember. Now they don't live in North Myrtle Beach. They're never going to do another transaction there, but still, that was shocking to me. And I went, oh yeah, I'm in the industry. Of course, that makes sense. People don't stay in touch. And what you said, I think, is really important. So here was my thing I was going to suggest for anyone out there that's going, okay, like Skye was saying, now's the time to think about how can I deepen my relationships with my connection to these people? Well, that sometimes is the challenge. Is they might go, well, I don't know am I supposed to just call once in a while? Or I know they're not, they just moved in a year ago. What am I going to do? I could call them and say like, what's going on? Or how you doing? And that's fine. But what I've always suggested is, especially you talked about your like really getting your CRM updated. I think now is the time to call everybody, especially now, if you have some extra time, and you probably do, call everybody in your database and literally just update the information. Be like, hey, I'm working on my marketing thing for next year. I just want to make sure I have all the right data for you. Find out their birthdays, find out their anniversary if they're married, find out, where they work if you don't know, and this gives you, find out what their children names, ages, maybe even birthdays too for that. So this way, if you have that information, you now have 6, 7 reasons to pick up the phone next year already automatically built in to your calendar, right? You're like, have the ability to pick up the phone and go, hey, it's your wedding anniversary. Just wanted to say happy anniversary. Anyway, I was just thinking like, this is the time to get that data in there so that you have all those touch points built into your calendar.
So true. Well, and I think agents struggle with this. What do I say? And I think the reality is because of the fact that we're looking at that former client as a client, not a human being.
Yeah.
And when you go back and bring it back to the beginning of our interview, right? Like my website, you look at it, you get an idea of who I am as a human being.
Yeah.
And I think this is a technique you can also use, is you put a touch point to do what I call reverse social media. So social media, Instagram and Facebook, they give us what they want us to see, but we have the ability to go in and actually look at what's happening in our clients' lives. And when you ask yourself the question, well, what should I say? Well, what's happening in their life, and reach out about it, right? Give them a compliment, give them a piece of gratitude. Or you can just say, and this is one of my favorite scripts, it's a text or an email, and you just say, hey, I'm just going through my records. I saw your name and it made me smile. Just want to say hi. No need to respond back. Just letting you know.
Oh boy. Oh, good. Again, we want to emphasize, only do this if somebody's authentically makes you smile too, because people are going to smell, something that isn't honest, but you are so absolutely right, is using social media as almost research and development. You can literally just, again, don't wait for the feed, because Facebook's only going to serve up things that they think you're going to want to see. You're not going to really get a good sense of everything that's going on in someone's life. So go through, type in their name, see if they've been on vacation lately, see what's going on with their kids. Yeah. And then my suggestion is, you can always comment on posts, and that's great. And that's definitely better than doing nothing. My suggestion is pick up the phone and call or text, be like, hey man, just saw you got back from Cancun. Hope you had an amazing trip. Like, that's the sort of stuff that people go, wow.
Yeah. The other brilliant gem I'm going to give you as well is ask for help.
Yes.
So I'm coaching next week. I'm actually coaching this within Compass, and we're going to basically be giving, we have thousands of agents signed up for this. I'm really excited. But it's 5 days of giving is the challenge. So I'm going to be basically showing how gratitude, but the first thing is agents are going to reach out to their clients and say, hey, we're developing a recipe book. Do you have any Thanksgiving recipes that you love that I could share in this recipe book?
And everybody has at least one.
And even if they don't, what they're going to say is, oh, I don't have anyone, but that's awesome. Can you send me that when you're done? Absolutely. And now you have a digital recipe book, that you can send out instead of just the corny, hey, hope you're having a Thanksgiving, like the email blast we all get, right? Like the turkey.
I'm thankful you're one of my clients or whatever.
Yeah. Now, like, and when if your parents got a Thanksgiving recipe book from their realtor, like as a
awesome
point, right? Now we got to get beyond the transaction. We got to think of like, what are my clients going to need? And the key aspect of asking for help is people like helping other people. And you're not asking for help in a bad way. You're asking for help in a good way. Imagine a neighborhood guide. You ask your clients, hey, I'm building a neighborhood guide. Do you have a favorite restaurant in Chicago or in
everybody has one,
whatever, right? And now what are you doing? You're interacting with your clients, your former clients, in a human way. And and it's all about being present in their mind in a positive manner, because while they may not buy or sell a house every 10 years, how many people do they know in those 10 years that are going to buy or sell? And what you want to do as an agent, you want to create raving fans that when you say, who is your realtor? My clients, they say, oh my God, Skye, you've got to call him. Like, here's his number. And let me text him right now. Because of the fact I'm present in their lives in a manner that is nothing to do necessarily with real estate, but everything to do with real estate, if that makes sense.
Totally. Boy, I'm just absorbing what you did. I realize what I need to do is create content from our listeners. I never have asked our listeners to contribute to the show. I asked them to tell a friend, and boy, that is all you ever have to do if you're listening, is tell a friend. But I'm thinking, you just gave me a great idea. I would love to create a list of tips from our listeners about what's working for them right now, and maybe what isn't working. That would be kind of cool too. But putting that together and just giving that away to our audience and saying, hey, here's all the stuff that you guys told me. So that, I love that. Boy, what a great idea. Oh, yeah. I love that. So what do we think about 2023? Here's what we know. We know rates are higher than they were. I don't want to say high. I just want to say higher than they were. Because when my parents got their first mortgage, it was double digits in the late 70s. So again, it's all relative, but we know that people are not as happy with rates as they were. So how are we talking about this? Not just rates. I just mean, how are we talking to clients right now? Or what are you suggesting agents do to really explain sort of, or rather to sort of set the narrative versus what maybe the media is projecting?
Correct. Well, the media is always going to put things out there that are going to generate activity, right? The reality is that real estate transacts based around, most real estate transacts around life goals, not financial goals.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not talking about like, investment properties and all that stuff. Like that's a little different. But for the vast majority of people that buy or sell real estate, they're doing it not because of finances, but they're doing it because of life, death, divorce, birth, job,
new job. Yeah.
Right. You name it. So the reality is that most people, real estate's one thing you need. That's a necessity of life. That's also an asset that you need to buy and sell. Right? Air, water, like you're not really buying and selling that. It's just like sort of natural. Shelter is a necessity of life. So one of the key things that I challenge the realtors that are listening to this is find the people that have those life events that do have that need, and with them, work with them on solutions. So an entrepreneurial principle we talk about here at Compass is be solutions driven. When you are encountering a problem within your client's life or your transactions, et cetera, the more you focus on the problem, the less you're going to accomplish. The more you focus on potential solutions and the pros and cons of each, well, now you can actually move into action. So the bottom line is there's usually a solution to something. And at the end of the day, that's what we need to drive at. There's 2-1 buy downs. There's seller held financing. There's lots of potential solutions, but what are they? Now, the one thing when I think about 2023, I went through 2008. I think you might have as well. Like
I got in just after that, but I've had enough guests on the show that have been through it, so I feel like I've been through it.
And that was different because there was a nuclear bomb that went off underneath our feet. This is different because what we're doing here is we're just pumping the brakes on the growth that was not healthy, right? Like it was not healthy to have double-digit growth, like multiple bids, like that was not a good thing. So what I'm trying to coach realtors on, and also this, and in essence, like your buyers and sellers, is that you got to go back into the life goals of what you're trying to do, and then backfill into the finances. Start with life, then go finances, rather than being like, oh, I just watched something on Fox News or CNN and I'm scared. Well, that's not how you should make a decision. The second thing is that get ready for the bounce, meaning this is a little bit of a correction into normalcy. And at some point, as rates start to go down, the demand is still there. We haven't gotten rid of the demand for housing, right? And the inventory is still at all-time lows, frankly. Even as we're starting to increase, we're still at an all-time low for most markets. So the reality is there is probably a little bit of a bounce coming. We just don't know exactly where that's going to be. And once again, the work you do in the next 6 months will probably dictate the next 2 years of your real estate career. Because if you sit there and once again, that anxiety kicks in and you just throw up your hands and say, well, I'm just going to sit here and go on Facebook and Instagram and, give up. Well, you're probably that's going to dictate the next 2 years of your real estate career. You're going to live pretty slim. Most realtors that I'm working with right now are so excited because of the fact that they actually have time now to help clients. Yes. They have time to work in their CRM. They have time to take those actions, build the Thanksgiving recipe book, frankly.
You get to do the fun stuff now. Now's the fun stuff time. Yeah,
exactly. And the reality is like, yes, it's just about getting better as a professional and improving your craft. And as you do that, you're going to do more transactions and you're frankly going to gain a lot of market share. Most good agents are actually like, ooh, here's an opportunity. All those, like, if you do research in your local market, look up how over the last 20 months, how many agents did 1, 2, or 3 deals in the last 20 months? The reality is those agents are going to be gone in the next 6 months.
We have a holding company here at our, we have 2 companies, one's for active producing agents and one's we just created for, not every state has these, but for people that don't actively produce but want to keep their license active, and they just want to hang it. We have about 700 agents in that company, in the holding company. In the last, or maybe 800 now, in the last month, we've added almost 50 agents just because people are exiting the business. So if you are a producing agent, whether you're part-time or full-time, now's the time to really get excited because lots of people are leaving.
That's right. And I think too, we'll see this accelerate as dues come for, like, most associations operate on a yearly schedule. So you'll see that jump in January probably as well. So it's key. And once again, I think it's like the positive is, like, there are really solid economics. People have equity. People, you remember, like, I know you just got in, but you probably remember doing short sales, right?
Sure.
Where people didn't have equity, and banks were foreclosing. Like, we have a lot of positive economic aspects that are going on right now that are good. And if you're buying a home, this is a really great way you can explain to buyers. Here are three options. There are three things that are going to happen with interest rates if you buy today. Number one, interest rates are going to go up, and you're going to be really happy that you locked in this 7% or 6.5% or whatever it is you locked in. Number two, they're going to stay the same, and then you're no worse off. Or number three, they're going to go down, and then you're going to refinance into that lower rate. Yeah. So the reality is, in either one of these scenarios, you're going to end up in a good space, that's a really great way that you can explain to buyers right now the fact that interest rates going up. It's just sort of the reality of where we are as in the interest rate market. The reality of interest rates are going to change, and if they go up and you locked in, I remember I just bought a house actually in June, and I was so pissed because I was like, man, I could have locked in.
You missed out.
I missed it, and now I'm like, oh. My mindset like totally changed. So I was like, oh, thank God I locked it in then at the the 4.25 like rate I got. At the time I was so mad. Now I'm thrilled. But the reality is, no matter where you are, you can explain one of three things is going to happen. They're going to go up, and you're going to be happy. They're going to stay the same. You're going to be happy. They're going to go down, and you got to pay a little money to refinance into the lower rate.
Yeah, and you brought up something a few minutes ago that I just want to step on a little bit because it's so important, which is that you said most consumers, most buyers and sellers aren't thinking about rates. They are thinking about their life events. And funny enough, I just got lucky when I bought my most recent condo, which just happened to fall in a time when the rates were that low. That was not the reason I bought. It was because this new development came about, and I was like, I needed to make a move, and it just so happened that I got lucky with rates. It could have been that it was 7%. Either way, I needed to move, and so I just got lucky. So I think as agents, we're so immersed in it that it's so much of our life that we think everyone else is thinking about it. But you're right. In most cases, people are thinking about what they need for their family, and whatever the rate is the rate, and it'll affect what they can afford, of course, but it's not going to, I don't think it's pushing people away as much as agents might be talking about it right now. Like agents are thinking people are scared and they don't want to pay. And I'm like, I don't know how true that is for the vast majority of buyers and sellers.
And you'll feel this ebb out a little bit too, because right now we probably still have the people that were looking in the 3 and 4% rate, and for those
who
people,
didn't get in,
it is real for them. But the people that you will encounter over the next 6 months, when they meet you and you do your consultation, you explain, here's the process, here's the payment, here's where rates are. For them, that's just where rates are, right?
And one more thing I was just going to, before I'm sorry, but also too, the people who did buy a couple years ago, the last couple of years, probably overpaid by a significant. So that's another thing you can bring up if somebody's like, well, rates are where they're at. Say like, well, let me just show you what it would have cost back then to purchase this home. And then all of a sudden things get more in line. Like, oh, okay, it's not, the sky isn't falling. Sorry, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to almost say the exact same thing. And the other positives are we can actually do a home inspection. We can actually get an appraisal. We can actually,
you don't have to buy it sight unseen.
I bought my home with I didn't see it. I just went off the pictures.
Amazing.
I didn't do an inspection. I didn't have a mortgage contingency, even though I got a mortgage. So no appraisal contingency, right?
Wow.
But I knew what I was doing. I'm a
Yeah.
because they could like look at it and knew what I was basically
Yeah.
buying.
But still, that's scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
I'm in the business, and I was really scared about it. But at the end of the day, that's what buyers had to do to get a home. The positive now is actually I, as a real estate professional, can protect you. I can actually do an inspection for you. We can do an appraisal. We can have a mortgage contingency. Hey, you need to sell your home and buy this one. We can actually make it contingent now because of the fact we're back. What we're doing is we're just coming back to the ground. Yeah. This is like it was a rocket that took off, and now we're just sort of settling back into the ground of what's normal in real estate. It's normal for a house to take 60 days to sell. It's not normal for it to sell in 2 or 3 days. Back in 2010, you sold the house in 2 days. You're like, "Woo, that was great." No, it's like it's normal for this to take some time, and that's what we have to adopt, this mindset that we are professionals, and what we do matters. Because if what we do doesn't matter, then the internet companies are just going to take it over and do it for us at a cheaper rate, frankly, right?
Yeah, and they're going to do a better job digitally than we can do, because that's their business. What we can do is all the interpersonal stuff, all the we care about you stuff. And if you can be the care about you person and the I can educate you and reassess what's actually going on and re-educate you and make you feel cared for and appreciated as a human being, then that's going to win out almost every time over the tech. That being said, I think this is actually a perfect place to wrap up. So I want a couple of things. The 6 a.m.ers, if you are a Compass agent and you want to participate in the accountability group, what's the best way that they should do? I guess they probably know internally, they probably know how to get access.
I hope so, but just in case you don't, you could obviously email me, skye@compass.com, or you could actually sign up on the website as a Compass agent as well.
And if you are not a Compass agent, which of course most people listening are not, let's listen to the podcast, subscribe to 6 a.m.ers and get you still get all the interviews and all the exciting parts of what Skye does. And by the way, if you are an agent and you are not happy at your current firm or just want to see what else is out there, obviously Compass would love the opportunity to speak with you. There's, reach out to your local Compass office. You can reach out to Skye as well. I'm sure he can direct you to the right person. But Compass is really doing some great things, and I don't work for Compass, and I'm impressed with Compass because I just think they do so many wonderful things for agents. So definitely, if you're looking to explore other options, except if you're one of our agents, stay with us. But I'm only being silly, of course. But anyway, if you are exploring other options, check out Compass. They are actually a bit different than a lot of what the traditional big firms offer. So check them out. They do a lot of great things. So Skye, thank you so much for being on the show. This was a real pleasure and a lot of fun for me. And I won't become a Compass agent only because I have my feet are firmly planted here, but I wish I was, only to be part of your 6 a.m.ers group. So maybe I'll figure out a way to sneak under the door, because I need that accountability in my life. So if anyone out there is a Compass agent, definitely let's sign up for 6 a.m.ers. I mean, so many people read the Hal Elrod book, The Miracle Morning, which is I feel like every realtor I know has read that book. This is an extension of that, and specific to real estate. So anyway, guys, thanks. On behalf of Skye and myself, we want to thank everyone for listening and supporting our show. As I said earlier, please tell a friend. That's the only thing that you need to do to help us continue to grow. And also check out Skye Michiels, everything he offers on the national stage with Compass, as well as his 6 a.m.ers podcast and accountability group. Go to skymichiels.com, link to that in the show notes, and also 6 a.m.ers, which I apologize, I forgot the website for that. Is that 6amers.com?
6amers.com. Yeah.
Perfect. And we'll have links to that in the show notes. So the 6amers.com. So anyway, Skye, thank you so much. And we will see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you, everyone.